Good morning, good Friday morning. So today is day one of a 3-day process to make the Zahav lamb shoulder. I'm going to show you what I've done to start. Okay. In my garage, my second fridge, I'm going to flip the camera and see if I can do this right. So that is the lamb shoulder. It's about 6 pounds after I trimmed it a bit, and it's sitting in a brine, and that brine it'll sit in for 48 hours. See it? And that brine, here's the cover. That brine is going to be some allspice berries, which is a very interesting story how I had to find those when Amazon didn't deliver them on time. Went to about 4 stores late last night, right before the fresh market closed. I found some peppercorns, garlic, whole cloves, but still in the wrapper, believe it or not. Some salt and sugar, and you boil that, let that cool down completely. I actually let it cool overnight just because I had some time. And then today starts a 48-hour brine process. Should be really good. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. Bye. All right, so now time for step 2. It's Sunday morning, and I'm going to take it out of the fridge. I'm going to bring it over to the counter just to let it warm up a little bit before we start cooking a little later this morning. Here we are back in the fridge. Let's take a look at it, Katie. Go ahead and get in there. Katie, how does it smell?
It smells good.
Yeah, it smells interesting, right? It smells very Middle Eastern to me. All right, here we go. And I want to show you one other thing I've been doing in the kitchen. So let's take a look at this stuff. So last night I started soaking some rice for our Persian wedding rice, as well as the chickpeas. Now those chickpeas have a little bit of baking soda in it, and they're also going to go, show us the baking rack here, and I'll just talk about it for a second. So those chickpeas are going to go right underneath that baking rack, and when we put the lamb on it, all the lamb juices over the course of the day are going to cook into the chickpeas, so it should be really good, right? And then we'll cook the Persian rice separately, and we also have a little plan for something called lafa bread, and Katie's going to be involved in that. She doesn't know it yet. All right. Okay, next step. We're going to take out the lamb out of the brine, and we're going to put it in the broiler. Let's take a look. So I'm going to take this big pot, put it in the sink. Put a colander. So that has been in that brine for over 48 hours. Lamb shoulder. And that brine again was allspice berries. It was peppercorns, some salt and sugar, and a little bit of fennel seed. I think I forgot to say that last time. So I try to get all the solids off. And you can see a little fat, and that's okay. I trimmed a little bit of that, but you want some fat for flavor. It's going to cook all day today. All right, so we've drained it. You don't really need to rinse it because all those juices are going to come off. Okay. So now let's get the rack. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. For this part of the process, we're just going to use a regular rack and a cooking sheet. And for about 20-30 minutes, I am going to broil this and move it and really try to get it nice and browned on the outside. So that's the goal. Let me just dry my hands off a little. Oops. Ready. And here we go into the oven. Broiler's already on. Normal setting. And we'll close it up. All right, that's good for now. So here we go. This is the fun step, right? We've broiled had this now in the oven for about 30 minutes. You can see some of the charring on the skin. That was the idea. Looks already good, but we got a lot more cooking to do. So what I'm gonna do is I have an interesting roasting pan. This is just some inserts that go in. I'm just using a foil pan. But in that pan, and if you can look at that, Katie, that's got those soaked chickpeas from before, along with about a little over half a cup of pomegranate molasses and a couple quarts of water. And that's gonna both cook the chickpeas over time and also really give some other flavor to the lamb. All right, so it's not that hot. I'll go ahead and pick it up. We're going skin side up. Okay. And I've got the oven, Katie, here to 325, which is relatively low temp, and that's gonna go for about 5 hours. All right, so let's go ahead and get it in. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, we're gonna take this part off video. Just so you know that what I'm gonna do before I put it in the oven is tightly wrap the lamb shoulder with some parchment paper and some foil over top of it. Again, it'll steam up all that molasses and everything in it. So I'll do that off camera. So that's the lamb under several layers of foil and some parchment, and in it will go to the oven. All right, my awesome chef Katie is gonna help me on the first step of the lafa bread, which we're doing now. So Katie, I want you to mix together a half a cup of water,
Okay.
1.5 teaspoons, I'm sorry, let me try that again. 2.5 teaspoons of dry yeast and 2 teaspoons of sugar in a bowl. Okay, I'll come back when you got it mixed. It looks like my assistant got involved with playing with the dog in the yard. Oh, maybe she's coming. Anyway, we're just slowly blending together some bread flour and regular flour with a little bit of salt. And after we do that for a bit and everything's well blended, we're going to bring in some yeast. This is all the stuff Katie did, the yeast and sugar with the water. And then we are going to add a little bit more water and some oil into this. Let's see how that works after a while. All right, it's basting time. We're gonna do our first baste of the lamb. We're doing it every hour. Got my baster. And you can see in the background, we're mixing the lafa bread. I can feel those chickpeas rumbling around. All right, I'll keep the oven warm by closing it. Let's try to take off as little foil as possible. Looks like it's more than I wanted. Oh wow, looks great. It's gonna come down here. And your baste. Oh wow. We got some interesting things happening with the lafa bread. That's fun. Looks like that's just about ready to be taken out and rise. All right, a few more bastes. That is looking good. All right, parchment paper back over top. And I'm out for a second. Back in the oven we go. Okay, just gonna tighten her up. And in 1 hour done. Dough, I bet it looks good. Why don't we take a look at that? Katie, why don't you just use your hands and tell me if it feels nice and tacky but firm?
It feels sticky and firm.
That's great. All right, take it. I want you to ball it up slightly and bring it over to this tray behind you.
Over here. Come here, Mom.
Okay.
And a little nice ball.
Okay. And we're gonna just put some wrap over top of it. Got it, Kate? And let's let that rise for about an hour until hopefully it doubles in size.
Hopefully. Bye.
So I've actually punched it down a little already, but that dough grew quite thick over time. It's easily doubled in size. Now I'm gonna roll it out here on this floured area to try to get it to about 8 sizes of baseballs. And we'll let those rise on the tray. All right. So there's my baseballs. Should be about 8 of them. Keeping it real, there's the floury mess I made that I'll clean up next. And this is what I'm going to cover it with. I'll actually show you, and then I'll pull it back so you can see. Cover it with, they asked for like a towel or a cloth. This is what's called a flour sack cloth. It's a bigger, basically a bigger kitchen towel. I really like them. I just got some yesterday, and they're good. They're bigger. I'm going to be using one later for the Persian rice, which is here. That's going to cover the lid of my Persian wedding rice pot. Which, by the way, I think what I'll do next, and I'll do it off camera, is go ahead and drain the rice so we can start cooking it in a little while. Okay, I'm going to try this on my own because all my kids have deserted me, all my film crew. All right, so I'm going to start, well, not just start, but continue where we left off on the Persian rice, wedding rice. Now, I didn't actually drain it when I said I realized that we still have plenty of time before I needed to start cooking that. So I'm going to start draining that now, and then I'll come back and we'll talk about the next cooking step. So one of a chef that I really like, who I got to see do a live demonstration in a cooking class for us in Philly, is named Rupin Rao, and Rupin's an Indian chef who learned how to cook from his mother. And he tells great stories about his mother, and one of them was the fact that his mother said when you're ever preparing, rinsing, and making rice, that you can't even lose a single grain of rice. And if you do, she said you'd go to hell. Well, I can tell you, Rupin, if that's the case, and if you're going, it looks like I'm right there with you based on what I just did here. So let's take a look. See all that extra rice? But that's the finished product. So we're going to take that and I'm going to start the next step. All right. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm taking my pot on the stove. I'll actually put it back. And I'm going to use my pot filler. I'm going to fill it about halfway through, or halfway up the sides with water. Kind of like you'd cook pasta, that's how we're going to be cooking this rice. So it's not necessarily a precise measurement on the amount of water, but we're going to take it back out of the water when we're done. Another draining. Probably losing more kernels if I go there. All right, it's about halfway. We'll close the pot filler. And let me turn it on. I'm actually going to bring it to the front burner. So there we go. Gonna add a little salt. I know you probably said, wow, that's a lot of salt. But the truth is, pasta and rice, if cooked in salt water, the water should almost taste like the ocean. I'm just gonna use a measuring spoon to stir that a little, just to dissolve it in. So you want a nice salty water, because again, you are gonna add flavor by doing that, but you're also not going to add that directly to the food because you're taking the water back out at the end. So it'll add some flavor for sure, and you want a nice salty flavor, but you're also not going to need to add that much more in other ways. There will be a little more water added and probably a little more oil and a tiny bit more salt before we're done. Okay. Okay, now comes the part of the process where I remind you that I may not be doing everything from scratch. However, I try to add some flares that'll be decidedly Mediterranean, Middle Eastern. So with this, there are some great recipes for hummus and things like that there. We're not making hummus today. We're gonna use the store-bought, but a good store-bought, like a Sabra or something really nice that you can find in a Whole Foods or another great store. What I wanna do is show you what I'm gonna try to do to add a little bit of flair to it, not a lot, and some of this goes out to my mom. So take a look. Okay, so here I have, actually, before I talk about my mom, here I have 3 types of hummus. One's actually not a hummus, I'll explain that in a minute. But this tray itself, which are foxes on a wooden tray, was a wedding gift from Ashley Pallandrini, one of our good friends who owned a shop in Kennett and still has an online store. So this is a black bean hummus. This is just a standard hummus, classic hummus. And this is harissa. Harissa is like a tomato paste with a number of seasonings, including some very spicy red pepper. I tried a little earlier, and if you notice me sweating a little bit on the video, that's why. I also have over here that I'll use later and show you just some packaged halloumi cheese, as well as some olives, which are always very Middle Eastern. And now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to at least the classic hummus. I'm going to take a few pomegranate seeds and just sort of sprinkle them right in the middle. And shout out to my mom, a little fresh garden basil. Yeah, I was thinking about using Thai basil. I decided that would be too many mixes of cultures. So there we go. So there's your slightly kicked up, nothing dramatic, hummus choices. And we're going to use that with our lafa bread later. And, you know, maybe I did pick all those pomegranate seeds myself. Oops, no, I might have picked them myself. You never know. See ya. Okay, our rice is boiling, or our water is boiling. We're gonna put in the rice. Oh, Alexa, stop timer. All right, we are going to stop the rice. It's had about 4 or 5 minutes, and when I tasted it last, it tastes chewy but not crunchy. It sticks to my tooth slightly, which is what you want because of the way we're gonna cook this. So I'm gonna put it in this colander in the sink, and you're gonna hopefully see it as best you can. Get ready for some steam. I love steam. Like a facial. It smells good too. I love the smell of rice. Does that bother people that the food I'm cooking for them is also my steaming product? Tough. Woo! My mother just texted me to find out how my daughter, you saw my assistant, likes the smell of the cooking, and I told her that 12-year-olds don't stay too involved in projects for too long. She's been out of here for a while, hence my bad video. Okay, let me put this back. And you can see we've got ourselves some good steaming rice. I'm gonna let that cool for a while. Next thing I'm gonna do is baste the lamb leg one more time. It's about 4 hours into the 5-hour process now. Okay, that's a 4-hour cooked lamb shoulder. You can really see it starting to develop. And while I'm basting it, you guys can watch. I'll let you know that, by the way, I'm joking about Katie. She's actually playing field hockey. And that's why she was in her field hockey outfit earlier. But she'll be back later to help us finish it. Okay, there's what that parchment and foil looks like. I'll seal it back up in a minute. Let's give it 1 or 2 more base shots. I'm a little curious what's going on with the chickpeas too, so we're going to take a look at that. Let's take a look together. All right, I'm going to get a spoon. Wow, it's starting to taste really good. Oh, wow, I can taste all those flavors too. That's going to be nice towards the end with the topping. All right, I hope I'm not extreme close up. Thanks. Okay, outdoor edition time. This is halloumi cheese that's been sliced. And over here I have a baster with some olive oil. A grill, it's at about medium heat. I actually opened it because it was a little hotter than I wanted. And some things to flip the cheese. We're just gonna put grill marks on it by cooking it real quickly, maybe just a couple minutes per side, if that. We'll see how it reacts. Hold on. Okay. I probably overdid it with this baster thing. You could just use a brush or frankly even your hands. Okay. And I'm going to flip it. And olive oil up the other side. Frankly, a lot of that happens just because there's plenty of olive oil on my cutting board. All right, let's give this a shot. I have no idea what to expect. I cleaned my grill with some steam a little earlier. Just gonna settle down. Pretty sturdy cheese for sure. Don't see any real flare-ups yet. I'll give it about 30 seconds. I'll be back. Shout out to Brian Verico, who always does precision grill marks. We'll see how I did. I did rotate these once. So now we're gonna flip them. I think I found out that this has not been enough time. That one's better than the others. Let's look at these front ones. Wow. Needs more time. Okay, the good news about grilling cheese is the presentation of the cheese will just be one side up. So we're going to try to get this backside better. I'm going to cook it for longer this time. We'll see. So we're at 45 seconds, actually more like a minute and a half. Since I did the last rotation, I actually closed the grill. So nobody's melted through just yet. And they're starting to brown even on top a little bit better. I'm beginning to feel better about these staying on long. They're hearty. I even bumped the temperature up a little bit. It's more like a medium, not exactly medium high, but close. So we're running at about 400 degrees. So strong cheese, amazing. I looked at one of these a little while ago and it still wasn't quite as I wanted, but let's look at it again, same one. All right, I'm going to give it about 30 more seconds. We're going to take it off no matter what, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I've turned the heat off now. You can see these are nice and smoky. They've definitely started to melt onto the grill a little bit, so let's take them off quick. Matter of fact, to do this right, I'm going to take my camera off. I'll show you at the end. So this might be closer to what I call a failure than anything I've done so far. Although, I don't know, I mean, they're melty. I've got some work to do to keep them straight. Probably even cut them a little bit before I put them on the plate. But if I let them cool a while, now they're going to have beautiful grill marks. They have character. And let's hope that the other screw-ups aren't bad, particularly when it comes to the lamb. I want that to be nailed if possible. So let's see how this tastes later. The things are starting to get serious. We're getting closer and closer to having everything out. This is a very hot pot full of, well, it was full of oil that I wiped out, so there's just a thin coat of oil that was really at just before smoking. And I've got some turmeric. I'm going to put the turmeric, sprinkle it in. I can show you that. Just kind of put some on the bottom. A few pinches. That's probably good. Okay. I smell that smoky turmeric. It's actually pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to gently start spooning the rice in. Okay, let me get a better spoon than this. Hold on. That's a good spoon. Okay, let's get a few on sooner rather than later, so it starts to coat with the turmeric. Turmeric? How do we want to say that? With confidence. Turmeric. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to spoon this in and I'll come back. All right, all that nice fluffy rice gets pressed down. We want to really try to give the grains a chance to crisp up by squeezing them down and pushing them to the sides of the pot. Okay. Hopefully we've already got a little bit of crustiness from that hot pot and the canola oil on the sides. But that back of the spoon is doing some work. I'm giving it some good pressure. Okay, this is going to actually come out like a mold. And the nice thing about Persian wedding rice is it's absolutely acceptable to serve it as, you know, a bowl with shards of dried rice. And it doesn't have to be a perfect cake, but if it is, that's kind of a neat presentation. Either way, we're going to enjoy it. Okay, I'm just going to pour this reserved, basically it's water with some oil evenly over the top. There's a tiny bit of salt in that, really not a lot, which is fine because this already has plenty of flavor from that salty water. Okay. All right. Next step's kind of interesting, and I've already done it, but I'm going to show you it, and then I'm going to talk about what I did. So I actually, oops, you see some turmeric on it. I actually used one of those cloths that I told you about, and I wrapped the top of the pot with that cloth, and I used a rubber band that you can see there to keep it on tight. Okay, so that's now a nice seal to really let it steam and then crisp in. And we're going to let that go for a little while. We'll be back. Very, very low heat. Alexa, set timer for 30 minutes.
30 minutes, starting now.
So that's going to go 30 minutes undisturbed. In the meantime, in really very soon, we're going to be pulling out the lamb to start the next part of its process. Okay. All right, so this is an exciting time. We are going to pull the lamb out and do its final preparation before it's ready to eat. Back on the glove. There's our rice. So I'm closing that. Take the oven, I'm going to bring it up to 475. Okay. I'm going to take all this off. Let's baste it one more time. Hear that oven starting to heat up. One more baste. Okay, so I'm going to do this off camera, but before I do, I just want to let you know what I'm going to do next is when the oven reaches 475, I'm going to put that back in for about 30 to 45 minutes. I want to really dissolve all those juices you see in here until that's just like a pasty sauce, and this is going to be real tender at that point. Then what we'll do to finish it off, as I'll show you, is we'll take it out, we'll either pull it or just put it right in a platter and pull the chickpeas off and put it right on top. So I got myself 2 helpers now. Katie and Mom have been rolling out the lafa bread nice and thin.
And this is
These are 2 that are, yeah, go ahead, Katie.
2 finished products. So.
Yeah, real puffy, real fluffy.
You can do it. Okay.
All right, and in a minute, Katie's gonna show me cooking one on the grill.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you what it looks like to cook one of these. This is the one that Katie rolled out. There we go. Just put it onto the paddle. Now, Katie, I want you to see the temperature of this oven, because this is actually a little above 500, which is what it calls for. But the reason I've got it above is as soon as I open a grill, you lose a lot of heat. I'm actually going to turn the heat up. There's a stone in there that's been warming up for a while, and here we go.
All right.
Flip it. Steve got excited about that. All right, we're going to give it, let's give it 2.5 minutes this time.
Okay. We'll be back.
Taking the lamb out of the oven. You can see it's nice and dark now, and I just want you to see, Katie, if you back up for a second, just focus on the lamb and watch what happens when I start to pull that bone. See how it's just all pulling away?
Yeah.
So it's really gonna be nice and soft. What I'm gonna do next, I'll let it rest for a minute, and then I'm gonna carefully take it out, put it on another tray, and I'm gonna try to collect the chickpeas so we can make it a nice platter.
It smells very good. All right, so our lafa bread is done.
Hopefully not too done, we'll find out. Oh, it's nice and charred like Mom wanted it.
Look at that.
Okay, I'm gonna let it stay warm in there. Let's see what happens when we flip it. I bet it'll leave me more charred on the other side. Ready? Oh, here we go. Look at that.
That looks amazing.
Okay, so we have taken the lamb out now. Let's take a look. You can still, I'm still trying to get that Persian wedding rice a little crispier, so it's cooking them real low. The lamb has got the chickpeas all over it. I just tasted when it's really good and fresh. That means my lafa bread's almost ready. Alexa, stop. And I'm just gonna finish it with some parsley and some mint. All over, let's make it real generous. Okay, a little more juice. Why not?
That looks great.
Smells good too. All right, we're just gonna pull it apart with a fork and spoon, and that'll be our dinner.
Oh, can't wait. What do we want to do with that?
First of all, I just want to make sure everybody knows the last one I did was probably a little darker, right? It's charred. It's actually gonna taste great, but that's because I let the grill get hotter than I wanted. I looked at the grill; it was about more like 650, and I only wanted about 550 because when you open it, it'll just char it a bit. So it's gonna taste great, but we're gonna take down the temperature and the time just a little bit on this next one. Last step is to get this Persian wedding rice out and served. I don't have high hopes to get it nice and crispy, but what I do have is hopes that the bottom is crispy, and then we can just make it this bowl. And then what we're gonna do after we put the rice in is we're gonna add some almonds, some dates, there's some apricots and prunes in there as well. That will go on top. Okay, so here we go. First thing I'm gonna do is just try to loosen the sides with my knife. Yeah, that works pretty well. Looks like our company's arriving just in time. So here it is.
No.
That is my Persian wedding rice, complete with some burned part that I took out. And these are my gifts.
Hello. Can't wait to dine.
All right, let's do it.